What's up, YouTube? Today we'll explain why the pre-modern market is actually facing a downtrend. If you can give a like to this video, that will be quite important. This is a topic we need to talk more. We need to explain to a lot of people that are actually investing in the pre-modern market, so a like can actually help other collector, other investor. And even more important than that, if you can subscribe to the channel, that will be also quite amazing. That being said, my voice is not perfect. I was sick, I would say, a couple of days ago. Right now I'm feeling a little bit better, so don't worry about me, but my voice is still recovering. The disclaimer will be a very short one. No financial advice, English not my main language, any types of mispronunciations, I'm sorry. So let's start with the topic, pre-modern era. Pre-modern era for me starts on the 90s and goes until 2013. There is a lot of reasons to that. I already made a video about this topic. Just Google that on my, not Google, in this case, search that on my YouTube channel, put different eras in soccer and you will find my explanation for this. The two big names on this era are without any type of doubt Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo, two of the most famous persons in the world. Other than that, legends are all over the place on this era. For example, Zidane, Ronaldo, Henry, Ronaldinho, Neymar, Xavi, Iniesta, Beckham, Romovic, Lewandowski, Suarez, Rooney, come on, so many legendary players. I think most people would agree in terms of star power, this is the most important era for soccer. Messi, Cristiano Ronaldo, Nazario Lima and Zidane are in most people top 10's best players ever, and I think that makes a lot of sense. Maybe even top 5 if you think about. I would say the top 4, to be fair, is quite easy, or at least is people tend to agree on the 4 main guys in soccer: Messi, Cristiano Ronaldo, Pelé and Maradona. The number 5 could be, I would say, Zidane, Ronaldinho. Again, people have different opinions, maybe Puskas, maybe Di Stefano. There is a lot of different opinions, but one thing that is quite evident is this era in terms of star power is just crazy. Now I will say something that a lot of people are not talking about. I'm not sure why, maybe they do not know better, but demographics are stronger in this era. Apart from that, big part of the product is licensed product. This will be a key point if the market keeps growing. I will go back into those arguments. Let's just me finish my thoughts. The nostalgia factor is not very relevant right now in the market. The reason is a big part of the collectors are actually American collectors, American investors, whatever you want to call it. But if you believe, like me, Europeans will eventually be one of the main forces in the market and they will collect players that they saw playing, this era is just perfect. Is just the perfect market to be in. In soccer, most people do not talk about licensed product and demographics, and that surprises me to some extent, but that will change in the future. I have no doubt about that. When I started talking about lineage in soccer cards, a lot of Americans had no idea what I was talking about, especially, of course, about the European sets. But right now, you are already seeing in the because education, not only me, to be fair, a lot of content creators are putting more education right now, more content on YouTube, etc., on Instagram, different platforms, and you guys are already seeing almost any type of mega cracks cards for Cristiano Ronaldo and Messi sells for a good amount of money. I'm not only talking about rookies. The Cristiano Ronaldo 2009 mega cracks cards, the first card at Real Madrid, is already a very expensive card. Was not the case 6 months ago. So you can see the market is understanding the lineage side, and again, is all about narratives, like I tend to say. And one narrative that I believe will be very crucial going forward will be licensed product. Look, even PSA is working on this. If you think about the Card Mania or Campeonato Brasileiro, all of those are basically fake cards from Neymar, custom cards from made for that people for a long time believe those are rookies. Those cards most likely will get removed from pop reports from PSA, BGS, SEC. From BGS, let's be real, I'm not sure because those guys have no idea what they are doing, but you get the point. PSA already confirming this. They are actually looking at basically almost every set they graded in soccer, and they are trying to see if those sets actually made sense to be graded or not. So this is something to think about. Licensed product is crucial. Vintage, of course, a different beast because there is not a lot of licensed product, but and by the way, I'm totally okay if you guys want to collect unlicensed product, as long as you understand most likely that will not be very desirable going forward, vintage being an exception, of course. Talking more right now about pre-modern. So the nostalgia factor, like I was saying, is something that, again, I don't see a lot of people talking about this because, and to some extent, actually makes sense in the sense that a big part of the market are American collectors, and of course those guys have no nostalgia for certain players like I have, for example, for Ronaldinho, for Zinedine Zidane, because those are my idols when I was growing up. So this connection will eventually come more into the market. The nostalgia factor will be a thing without any type of doubt, and with that you can start you can start speculation. You can start your own speculation on the market. For example, let's say even a player like Frank Lampard, which is probably the biggest legend for Chelsea fans. But if you look at these prices, Lampard is still quite affordable. Again, if you believe the United Kingdom will be part of the market, if you believe Chelsea fans will be part of the market, and that makes a lot of sense, you can see automatically the demand increasing for a player like Lampard. But you can go even crazier than that. Think about a player like Thierry Henry, one of the best players ever in Premier League. So the United Kingdom fans will probably, or even more special, the Arsenal fans will have a connection with Thierry Henry. But not only those. Think about the French people. They love Thierry Henry. Thierry Henry won World Cup with France. So you can see different narratives probably getting stronger and stronger with the time. You are listening to this to the first time, to be fair, but demographics will be a topic going forward. Lineage is already a topic. Licensed product will be another topic going forward, and the nostalgia factor, I would say, related with demographics, will be something that people will care a lot. That's why I think there is a lot of opportunities in terms of pre-modern. That being said, I was starting the video saying that the market is facing a correction, and I strongly believe in that, but high-end cards that are actually quite difficult to find are still doing very well, and this makes a lot of sense. When the market faces a correction, a crash, whatever you want to call it, most people tend to move their money to things that they believe are a little bit more safe. And the Ibrahimovic card and the Ronaldinho card, both rookie cards, in this case rookie stickers, are a good example of that. Let's go with the Ibrahimovic example. A PSA 6 sold for 6.3k, but in the 1 year ago, not even 1 year ago, to be fair, comparing with the sale, right now is more than 1 year ago. But let's say last year a PSA 6 sold for less than 1k. So you can see that that's a crazy difference from 1k to 6k is actually crazy to think about. Ronaldinho a little bit less dramatic, but still increasing quite a lot over time. The reason for this, I already explained, is people tend to move their money, to move or at least consolidate into things they believe are a little bit more safe, and that makes sense to some extent. I will talk a little bit more about this later. So, but that's not the reality when you look in a macro perspective. Take a look at Messi rookies. In general, all of them are down quite heavily. This Messi rookie, one of the most popular and one of the most beautiful, by the way, a PSA 9 at the peak was selling for 11k. Right now is 3k, sometimes even less than 3k. Sorry, I was getting a call, does not matter. So you can see a big correction, and this is something, of course, to think about. Maybe the 11k was a little bit overhyped, talking about the PSA 9. Maybe right now the PSA 9 is actually quite undervalued. But there is another example. For example, the Iniesta card. At the peak, a PSA 8 was selling for $700. A lot of people were saying this will be a 1-2k card. Right now, the reality is a PSA 8 sells for $300, which is still, I would say, a solid amount of money for a card like this. But that being said, you can see the correction is quite evident. The Neymar card is actually something to think about, because I believe the Neymar card is actually quite difficult to find, but this card at the peak of the market, the PSA 7 sold for almost 5k. Right now, a BGS 7, not this one, by the way, the action shot on my slabs, because I was actually tracking that that card sold for not even 1k. You can tell me, yeah, but BGS 7, PS8 7 is a big difference. Of course, I know that, but of course it's not in one being 1k, another being 5k. You guys know that makes no sense, even if you want to put a crazy premium on PSA. In general, the market is down. I have not a lot of doubts about that, and I believe most of you guys agree with me. So, pre-modern being down, my point of view on this topic. In general, sports cards are down. No doubt about that. American markets like NBA, NFL, etc., the low to mid-end type of cards are not performing very well. Again, ultra high-end cards, especially on those American markets, are doing very well. But like I tend to say, those cards do not represent the market for me, because most of you guys cannot afford those cards. That's the reality. What other people tell you, yeah, but if you bought a certain card, you will be doing very well. But sometimes they are talking about cards more. They are talking about cards most of the time over 10k, 20k. Let's be real, big part of the market cannot afford that. So we need to consolidate into that, or in this case, we need to see low to mid-end performing very well. And that was the case, by the way, 6 months ago. Not the case anymore. Pokemon, the biggest TCG in the world, is also seeing a massive correction. And by the way, I have to say this, even high-end stuff is actually going down in a lot of sports. The ultra high-end stuff is the only thing that people tend to argue, because even if you look at PSA 10s for Michael Jordan, I'm not sure if that market is doing that well, at least when you put in perspective what people were saying 6 months ago. So this is something, again, to think about. All the markets are related to some extent, and even if soccer is still a market with great fundamentals, and I believe on that, the effect still happens on our market. So one thing that you can tell me is, yeah, but you know what, look, Prism for Zion, for Luca are down 50%, sometimes even more. Look, that makes sense, okay? Because let's be real, the pop are it's just too much. Never made sense to grade so many of those. But the reality is, it is what it is at this point. So nothing we can do, but the correction is real. The crash is real in certain cards, in certain sports, and soccer is getting affected by that. Not only pre-modern, also vintage to some extent, I would say less, but even ultra-modern in soccer, which in terms of fundamentals is way better than a market like NBA ultra-modern, but is still getting affected quite heavily. Already explained my view on this downtrend market, on this bearish market. I will share with you again. A lot of product is coming from PSA, BGS, and the backlog is still huge. That automatic scares a lot of people. They lose trust in the market. And when you lose trust in the market, that's, of course, something that is basically drastic, okay? Apart from that, those companies being closed creates a weird pressure in the market. Easy example to understand this is a lot of people end up loving to buy sealed product, rip the product and send to PSA. Right now they can't do that anymore. People that love to participate in box breakers, right now, look, you can participate, of course, but you are getting the cards raw. What are you doing with that card? There is no PSA, there is no BGS. This, of course, you can say, yeah, yes, but there is alternatives. You can still sell raw cards. But the reality is, big part of the market are not adapting into that. They basically have that mindset. I buy a raw card for $10. I put in a slab. I sell for 100. And this is not the case anymore. So this automatically creates a weird pressure on the market. And flippers, and I'm very critical of flippers from time to time, but they are crucial for the market to have a crazy cash flow going on. This created a cash flow, people sending cards to graded and again selling, buying, and made the market very attractive for flippers, traders, again, whatever you want to call it. And a bunch of factors like COVID, inflation, NFTs, etc. are also part of the crash. Look, the COVID situation, I said this 6 months ago, look, if you don't have an unlimited amount of money, if your budget is limited, and our budget is always limited to be fair, look, if you are spending more money outside, there is a likely scenario that money will not go into cards, and this is quite easy to understand. Some people try to argument with me on this front. I don't see actually how can you even argue this type of stuff. Of course, COVID was crucial for the sports card market, for the soccer market, etc. Apart from that, there is a lot of speculation with inflation, NFTs. The reality is they are quite hot right now, and a lot of flippers they find again they tend to find way bigger opportunities flipping NFTs than they have flipping PSA cards, BGS cards, because as I explained you, those companies are closed and there is a crazy backlog. So all of those things are something that are, of course, damaging the market. Not only the soccer card market, the entire sports card market, the entire TCG market. Moving on. And this is something that, again, a lot of people do not talk about. Cristiano Ronaldo and Messi not doing well influences the market, influences the entire Premodern market. Those two guys are the face of Premodern, and right now the reality is they are not doing very well. I would say for different reasons, but I will go into that a little bit later. So, big part of the money in Premodern are into Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo cards, rookies in particular. If those two start doing well again, I have no doubt that other legends will follow the same trend. Premodern is very particular on this front. Guys, listen very careful. Since even people that do not understand the history of Premodern, the history of soccer, they know Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo. So you can see how those guys are so crucial in the Premodern market, which makes sense, but I believe they are even more important than they should be in a macro perspective, because Americans that, look, I don't even know Zidane, I don't even know Iniesta, but Cristiano Ronaldo, come on. Everyone knows Cristiano Ronaldo at this point. Everyone knows Lionel Messi. The correction in Messi is actually crazy, is actually crazy strong. At this point, I was expecting Messi to be already recovering, I would say, in a fast way, to be fair. Not the case at all. Look, I'm buying. So this is, I cannot give you any type of advice. I'm telling you what I'm doing. I'm actually buying Messi rookies again. My idea is still the same. If you believe in the soccer card market, makes a lot of sense to believe in Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo cards. Cristiano Ronaldo a little bit different than Messi. For example, you guys probably know BGS and upgrading a lot of Cristiano Ronaldo fakes. So this sticker in particular ended up getting crashed by the market, and even PSA SGC slabs are seeing an effect to some extent. So this, of course, does not help. This is something we cannot control. BGS needs to get better, basically, but they are so bad that I have no big hopes, to be fair, at this point. But this is an example that a grading company actually ended up affecting a market for a certain player. But again, it is what it is. We cannot do anything about that. At least I'm spreading information about Cristiano Ronaldo market, about fakes. How can you see the difference between a real and a fake? But that's the best I can do. So, number 3, people did not know better. When this card in particular, the 2004 Mega Cracks Campeón Messi rookie, was below 100, 200 copies on PSA, a lot of people, most American to be fair, really thought this card was extreme rare, and no matter the condition, almost this card is almost true rarity. Well, if you do a basic research, you knew that was not the case at all. Any type of influencer on the market that understands the market will share with you this. I was saying this 6 months ago. You could still find sealed product on eBay, singles on Toda Colección, on eBay Spain. Those are basically, you can still find those everywhere. So with that, you know automatically that those pops are not real. 1 year from now, those pops, in my perspective, will be way more real than they are actually now. For example, even now, I don't trust on those pops that much. That being said, that card is still a great card with fundamentals. Apart from that, people did not even know the Catalan version was the rarest, was the one you should get, basically, because the Catalan version, in terms of population, is actually quite lower than the Campeón, in this case, the Spanish version. And we are seeing already that effect in the market. I'm educating more people on that. Other influencers are talking about this, and you can see that actually the Campeón, the Catalan version, is selling for more than the Spanish version because it's more rare and people like things that are more rare. That's the reality. There is no way around that. I created my channel because of this reason. Most content on YouTube was the same. card shows talking about Ultramodern, Box Breaker, hype-driven channels. Look, nothing wrong with that. To be fair, there is something wrong with that, but in general, I cannot judge other content creators, but we need people that educate the market. I'm just one. I hope that there will be more people educating the market going forward. But this is the reason, to be fair, for example, for Messi rookies. People did not know better. People was investing very heavily, particularly on this set, the Campion set, which I think is probably the most, those cards are the easiest rookie cards for Messi to find on the market. I thought the SS sticker was a way better buy at the time. I thought the Messi 7 on Bees was a way better buy. To some extent, the Mundi Chrome was a better buy because it was so cheap at the time. But markets, in this case, people on the hobby did not know any better. And a lot of content creators, they don't even know what I'm explaining to you right now. They are actually learning this for the first time. He said, yes, but it's the reality and we need to deal with that. So, moving on. Irrational market, and this is something to think about. There is a seduction about being positive when prices are going up every day. The same seduction happens when prices are going down, but in this case, being negative. In both cases, people can see the other side. When prices are going up in Messi cards, everyone makes arguments like this. You know what, Messi cards, rookie cards will be 1 million one day, the supply is just too low, Messi is just way more popular than Michael Jordan, than LeBron James, than, I don't know, you name it, that Babe Ruth, and with that, Messi cards should be worth crazy amounts of money. Well, I personally don't agree with that narrative, to be fair. I think Messi is actually quite undervalued right now on the market, but I don't think Messi cards should be 1 million, at least for now. Maybe, of course, if the market keeps growing, if we actually start getting to a position where the soccer card market is one of the biggest markets in the world, that will be a different story. For now, we need to be a little bit more realistic. Messi are down quite a lot, and I believe in the long run will recover. But I'm not sure if we'll go back to the all-time high prices again. I hope it will go up to the all-time prices again, but again, I need to be realistic for now. If the Messi market recovers 50%, I will be already very, very happy. When prices are going down, the narrative is totally different. Basically, there is too much product, demand is not there for soccer. Soccer is a pump and dump market. Who cares about soccer? Why I'm investing in soccer never made any type of sense. And you can see, basically, those are the same persons saying that the Messi card should be 1 million, because there is a seduction when things are going up, and the same seduction applies when things are going down. People care about prices, people do not care about value. Again, not the first time I talk about this, but if people end up caring about value, they are still probably holding Messi cards, because those cards are actually great cards in the long run if you believe in the soccer card market. But if you are a flipper and if you bought a card for 10k and right now it's 5k, you are probably panicked, you have no idea what you are doing, you never understood the market to start, and right now you are completely lost. I'm just a regular guy, but I actually sold a lot when people was saying everything is going up. And I actually got a couple of comments on Instagram, on YouTube, because I actually ended up making a video about this. So you can go back to my channel and see this. 6 months ago, I was selling. Maybe this could be a good time to sell some cards that you are not sure about. And people told me, why are you selling, idiot? Right now, the market is already going down. Why are you selling? Just hold. No. That's not the correct way to approach the market. If you believe the market will go down even more, and of course timing the market is very difficult, but with time you get better, you get much better with that. And if you believe there is a crazy mania, there is some type of euphoria going around certain cards, maybe sell now and buy later. Guys, right now I'm buying Messi rookie cards again. Look, I sold a PSA, I believe it was a PSA 6 or PSA 7, I'm not sure, around 3k. Guys, right now, that card is $500. I'm buying that card now. I may buy the card I bought. So you can see how crazy the markets tend to be. And look, the reality is when when the Messi market was at all-time highs, when the pre-modern market was at all-time highs, the demand was just insane. Everyone went to jump into the pre-modern market. Right now the market is down, and you can make a solid argument that, look, this is a great time to buy, but a lot of people are not buying. So people are cheap. Already shared my opinion about this in other videos. Irrational market. You need to understand this, otherwise you will lose money in the long run. Moving on. 5. A lot of collectors are moving into vintage, and I don't think this is a negative thing, by the way, because it makes sense. In general, pops are lower and people believe there is some sense of true rarity in certain cards in vintage, and I actually agree with that to some extent. I love vintage, but it's a market I personally don't believe will outperform in a macro perspective, in a macro way, the pre-modern market for obvious reasons. The demand, the demographics are not there. Maybe the rarity, and even that is maybe for me, but demographics, nostalgia factor, those effects are so strong that I'm very bullish in the pre-modern market. Vintage remembers me pre-modern a couple of months ago, if I'm totally honest. A lot of people are only seeing the good side of the market, and there is a lot of good things in vintage, by the way, but there is a lot of things to be worried about. Licensed product there is not a lot of licensed product. Apart from that, again, PSA probably will remove a couple of cards from the vintage market, because look, I know a couple of them from the top of my head. The Di Stefano rookie, the Pog rookie, guys, I actually believe that's a custom-made card. Again, I'm not doing a video on that alone, basically, because I still have more information, but there is not a lot of information going around. A lot of old collectors, they believe it's real, but when you ask for more info, they don't have. And look, I don't blame those collectors, because in the end, look, it is what it is. There is no information for certain cards, but we need to be careful on that front, because those grading companies are now realizing that soccer is a big deal, and they will probably adapt with that. Non-licensed product cards without any type of tracking record and demographics are things that are not in favor of vintage. The reality is right now people are not seeing that. They will see it in the future. It is what it is. Apart from that, I believe the vintage market is a market that can be manipulated for multiple reasons, and this is where you should do your own research. But the reality is, and I will give you some type of hints, certain cards in vintage, they are going up so much that, look, markets does not matter if you're talking about vintage, pre-modern, ultra-modern. If one card makes 5x in 1 month, that's probably not healthy, and a correction probably will be taking place. Apart from that, you have to understand one thing. Not a lot of people was collecting vintage a couple of years ago, so a lot of collectors actually also have crazy amount of vintage, and for certain cards they have a big part of the pop. And look, that makes me feel a little bit nervous, because again, even if I trust the person, I'm not sure if that person will put those cards on eBay and they can eventually crash the market for that card. So this is something to think about. That being said, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Well, I will do a quick recap just to finish my thoughts. But there is a lot of factors, of course, for the pre-modern market is actually facing a downtrend. I believe is a great time to buy. Again, no financial advice, and markets are irrational. So again, I was talking about vintage. I see people sending me DMs about vintage cards that are selling at all-time highs, asking me if this is a good time to buy. Why not buy pre-modern? To be fair, pre-modern cards are down so much. So where you think is the makes more sense to buy at a market that is at all-time highs, or a market that is in a downtrend with still a lot of great fundamentals? So people do not understand this. It is what it is. So this, again, this is a general problem, not only soccer cards, not only the pre-modern market. Cristiano Ronaldo and Messi, those guys not doing well does not help the pre-modern market at all. I believe if those guys start going up, and for me that will be the case in a couple of months, the other legends will follow the same trend. People did not know any better basically at the time. So people end up overreacting to pops. People are actually now again overreacting to pops, but in a different way. It is what it is. Those cars, in my perspective, are still quite difficult to find, especially in good condition, but people end up losing trust on the market for especially for messy cars. I believe that's a huge mistake, and the market will show that eventually. Irrational market, again, there is a selection when things are going up. The same selection applies when things are going down. People tend to overreact in both sides. And vintage right now is doing much better than pre-modern, and I believe a lot of pre-modern collectors are now moving some money into vintage. And by the way, if you are doing your research, if you are doing your own study, vintage could be an amazing market. The thing I was saying the other day on Patreon is this. I got again a couple of DMs, people that are buying random players from the pre-war era that I never saw those guys. People don't know about those. And people tell me, yeah, this is only pop 1, pop 2. Yes, but you know that the demand is not there. Maybe you are the only guy trying to buying this card at this point in time. So if that market does not follow the same trend as other markets, you can actually be stuck with those type of cards. Rarity is not everything, okay? And people are doing that mistake right now. So guys, collect things you love, price is what you pay, value is what you get. See you guys tomorrow on Patreon. Tomorrow will be the Q&A day. So if you are not a Patreon member, there is a link on the description. And there is actually also a link for my Discord community. A lot of great conversations there. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you guys join the Discord, the Patreon, and see you guys tomorrow. Bye. Leave a like.